I don't know why, but right now the battery on my Samsung Galaxy S5 is just really hot for no reason. You know, it's actually funny. This phone would probably make a really good torture device. All you'd have to do is plug it into a charger, turn on Bluetooth, and then place the phone directly on someone's skin. They're very likely to receive third-degree burns as a result. That's how hot it feels like this phone gets sometimes. Like, just holding the phone right now is actually making my hands sweaty. That's how hot the phone is right now. It's really irritating sometimes. Anyway, in the last video I shared my thoughts on the New Jersey Transit bus crash that happened in Newark. There's one story I actually forgot to mention when I was talking about how reckless it seems like bus drivers can be sometimes. This was actually a situation when I was driving a truck in a small town in Florida. I was driving on a two-way street. There was a school bus approaching on the other side of the road, and as the bus approached me, this bus is filled with children, by the way, they all reached their hands out the window, which scared me to death because I'm aware of the story of the kid that stuck his hand out the window and it got taken by a truck. And obviously that's not something you want to have happen to you. Like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, if it looks really bad on your record if you ran over a kid's arm with your truck. Like, that just, like, good luck getting a job if that happens to you. But not only that, but it's just a really terrible accident you don't want to be involved in. So yeah. So in order to try to avoid as much as possible hitting these children's arms, I then began to move the truck as far to the edge of the road as I could. Literally, the tires were touching just over the edge of the road, because I'm trying to move the truck as far to my side of the road as possible to try to avoid a collision. But you know what the school bus driver did? Absolutely nothing. He didn't even try to move his bus in a position to try to avoid this. In fact, I'm not even sure the bus driver was aware that his children were sticking his hands out the window, which is funny because school buses have side view mirrors too. You'd think they would be able to know that as well. Either that or he just didn't care, or he wasn't paying attention. So yeah, that actually scared me a lot. I think they were trying to get me to blow my horn. But the thing is, we're actually trained not to use our horns unless we're trying to warn a sleepy driver or basically someone that's about to crash into us, like maybe a drunk driver or something. Plus, I was driving in a small town where they had a horn ordinance. I wasn't allowed to blow my horn by penalty of law, and I could get a fine if I did. Anyway, now I'm going to share a few of my thoughts on this Hoboken train crash. First, a very funny story about when I was a kid growing up in New Jersey. Now, when I was a kid, for some reason, I guess because of the kid logic that I had at the time, I thought Hoboken was a place where basically all the hobos live. Because, you know, it has Hoboken in the title. So, I mean, it has hobo in the title, so yeah. So one day we rode the train to Hoboken to visit one of my relatives, and I'm like, oh, there are normal people living here too. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting story, I guess. Anyway, this is a train crash that happened in Hoboken where the driver was going too fast and he hit the bumper at the end of the terminal and crashed into the station. This was very likely caused, just like that Amtrak train crash, by lack of sleep. You know, it's funny though, I was reading the news about this crash, and New Jersey Transit said that to fix this issue, they were going to change the speed limit from 15 miles per hour to 10 miles per hour into the station. And I'm like, yeah, because that's really going to fix this problem. It's really gonna solve the problem that your drivers don't have enough sleep by lowering the speed limit, because that's how you solve the issue of non-sleep, by making them drive slower. That's actually going to solve the problem completely. Like, that was a genius decision. Like, seriously, this accident was caused by lack of sleep. The drivers because railroads refuse to realize that humans are people that need sleep in order to function properly, and without it, they can't operate the vehicle like this correctly without very likely getting into a situation like this. And until they accept the reality that humans need sleep, or switch to robot powered trains, this is a thing that's just gonna keep happening, because they're just not going. Like, you can't really stop the issue that people don't have enough sleep without giving them more sleep. So until you do that, this is just gonna keep happening. It's a real shame, though, that this historic train station that was around since the steam era had to get damaged because they just refused to give their drivers enough sleep. So I was reading the news about and data was released as to what happened prior to this crash. Apparently, instead of slowing down, the train sped up to around 30 miles per hour. It also says that the throttle was hit instead of the brake. You know what I think probably happened? The driver may have been asleep, and he was trying to push the brake in order to slow down the train because he knew he was at a station. Maybe he fell asleep as he was reaching for the lever or something, and instead of pushing the brake lever, he pushed the throttle lever, which caused the train to accelerate instead of slowing down. He probably then began to wake up when he would realize that the train felt like it was going faster than basically it was probably going in his sleep. So then he began to wake up. He realized the train was going really fast, so he put the emergency brake on, but at that point it was too late. It's a shame, though. This really could have been prevented if you would just let your drivers have enough sleep. Like, hire more drivers so that they don't have to work so many extra hours and put themselves in this situation where this can happen. Lower the amount of hours drivers have to operate this vehicle. Because really, this is ridiculous. I'm actually very disappointed in New Jersey Transit for allowing this to happen. They could have easily prevented this accident, but they didn't want to take the steps to do it, I guess. I mean, like, this is just horrifying. It's actually interesting. I was reading something else, and it said that accident-wise, New Jersey Transit is one of the most dangerous passenger railroads in this country. I never really noticed when I was a kid because there weren't that many accidents happening on the trains I was riding on. It's weird. I actually rode the train to Hoboken a few times, and I'm thinking, man, one of those times I could have been riding the train to Hoboken and that could have happened. Wonder what kind of picture is that? What does that have to do? Oh, this isn't even of the same crash. What is wrong with Google? So yeah, that's pretty much all the thoughts I have about this crash. It could have been prevented, but for some reason they didn't take the steps to do it.